we can
Okay.
jump right in.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's do it. I love it.
All right.
So great to meet you. Thank you so much
Great
for
to meet
taking
you
a
as
minute
well.
out today.
Yes, yes.
So let's begin our journey into your good work by asking you this. I always start with this question. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing our world, changing our
Mhm.
lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do business and live today?
Yeah, so 6 years ago, that would be put us at 2020. So in that year, I was working for American Express. I was still in corporate as a senior infrastructure engineer. So I worked in technologies there, and um, it was around that time where I was thinking about how do I want to make a bigger impact in the world. And it was around that time when I decided to leave Amex and to become a coach, a full-time coach during the pandemic, during this time when there was a lot of uncertainty, there was a lot of fear in the world. That's when I decided to lean into my mission, to lean into my courage, and to take a leap.
So let's get into exactly what you're doing today with the leap. I'm going to put you in
Mhm.
front of 13-year-olds. It's career day, and one of the kids wants to know what you do for a living. How
Yeah.
do you make your day job make sense to them?
Yeah, that was a great question. I've never been asked that question before. The words I use today are an executive leadership coach and trusted advisor. Now, what I would probably say to that 13-year-old is I help people feel a little less lonely.
So, what did you want to be when you were that age? Because being young can be a lonely place. What was your dream gig? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, and so I grew up here in Phoenix, and Phoenix is a place of 5% black people. And so I grew up in a middle class white neighborhood. And so I felt really lonely, um, partially because I had seven siblings, and partially because I was rarely around people who look like me. So there is that level of loneliness. But your question was, what did I want to be at that age? What I wanted to be was a police officer.
Okay.
I had an uncle who was a fireman, and so I thought being a police officer would be really fun. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
let's get into what you were talking about in the community you grew up in, and just the way that you felt growing up. What were those foundational seeds that were planted that made you successful, that made you transcend where you were at, and have allowed you to become who you are and to be influential in other people's lives? How did this happen?
Yeah, great question. There are so many seeds. And so let me start with one. One was growing up poor. Growing up with seven siblings, I'm the third oldest. And in the sixth grade, we moved from a white middle class neighborhood to the other side of town where it was the majority black neighborhood. People there were um, they didn't have money. It was an impoverished area. And so talk about a wake up moment. Moving was a big deal. And so growing up with the struggle of being poor and being in an environment where that was okay. An environment where there was a lot of victim thinking. Um, that was, I remember there was a moment when I said, I don't want a life like this. I don't want to be an adult that's living paycheck to paycheck, an adult that is poor. I don't want that life. And so for me, just that the being growing up being poor, and having to, for example, go to the thrift store. We never went to the store to buy clothes, brand new clothes. We always had to get it secondhand. And so that pain, the pain of uh not having rarely having name brand food. We could never get name brand food. We always had to get the store brand, right? The cheaper kind. If we got something name brand, it was had to be on sale. The pain of waking up on Christmas Day and looking under the Christmas tree and there's really no gifts there. My mom
Right.
tried to do what she could. She would give us a stocking that had like some candy and some little knickknacks and some things like that. But the pain of going outside and seeing all the kids play with their gifts and then not really having it. And so that pain
Yeah.
is caused me to say, you know what? I don't want to live like this. I don't want this type of life, and that really caused me to go after what I wanted, to think differently, to move differently, and I knew that I if it was going to happen, it was going to be up to me.
So on that path of wanting a different life, of wanting success, things to happen different, who was the inspiration? Who was the hero that allowed you to evolve into who you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who was the hero? Because the first answer that comes to mind is there was no hero. It
Yeah.
was me wanting to get out of poverty. Um, Now, growing up, one of the only things that voluntarily brought my family uh, around the television was the Cosby Show. Think of this show is one of the only it's an African American family who's successful, and there's a doctor and a lawyer, and so that show for me helped me. I thought, you know what, I can do that. Like I can be successful, I can be like them. And so that was a depiction of a life that of success that I wanted. Um yeah, so that's one example of something from my life that helped me see that. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. If you can meet one person alive today, you could even roundtable it, that you could have a lunch with and you could talk to that might help you on your journey. Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, my biggest focus is saving lives lost to loneliness. And my focus within that is with accomplished Black leaders who know the struggles and the loneliness that comes with leading in a white world. And so, I'm writing a book about this, by the way. And so I think who would I like to sit down with? I'd love to sit down with Barack Obama
Yeah.
and and listen to him to see what words of wisdom he has for me and to ask for his help.
Right.
So yeah, yeah.
So talk to me about the book. What was the spark that made you want to write this book? And was it ultimately cathartic? Because it seems like you have to go whenever you have to go back into your life and
Yep.
open up chapters that are painful,
Yep.
it can be really difficult. But
Yep.
ultimately, when you look at it in the rearview mirror, how was the process?
Yeah, so I'm still writing the book. It is a shorter book. I'm designing this to be read on a plane. So no more than 75, 80 pages. Um, yeah, I had to go back and I'm telling stories about my own life, about my own challenges. One of them I shared here, and it actually these are stories I've already told before. Some of them, most of them, so it wasn't as difficult to tell them. The difficulty was in remembering the specifics. Like it was not. I'm at a point now where I'm not afraid to be vulnerable and to shine a light on these moments of my life that I feel maybe shame around. I'm okay with that. But the hardest part came in actually trying to get the details right and then feeling bad about like I don't want to deceive anyone or bring in any deception as it relates to the storytelling bit. Yeah.
So, the one thing that's been very clear about your journey in life is that you've been successful, you've overcome, and you're helping others get to that point.
Yep.
But we live in a country right now that is being at, like when you talk about President Obama, during that time, I think we all felt like we're going to finally get an opportunity to see progressive politics and groups and people that have been marginalized just become a part of the American family. And then we get this current government incarnation that is not doing that. They are the absolute opposite of what Obama was doing. How do you remain hopeful? How do you every day wake up and keep your chin up, hoping for a better America and a better way for all of us?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is I limit my exposure to the news.
Yeah.
So I very much so limit that. And then I remind myself of my mission. I remind myself of I feel like we are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. And I think about what can I do in my space to make change? And so I try not to focus on what's happening in politics, but I think about, well, what can I do and who do I need to Well, what can I do and what can we do? How do I continue to create a movement? How do I work with people who are already on this path, people who are optimistic, people who are change makers? How do I continue to move forward? Um, yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's sort of how I play and how I move.
So let me ask you this. The one thing about life, when you are highly driven and you have this idea of success and you want things to be different,
Yep.
there's people that come along that see you for who you are. Like they see beneath all of it and they look into your soul. Who saw you for the first time? Who saw you for who you were that maybe added fuel to this desire of being who you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question because the first thought that comes to mind is like, oh, I do this for a living. Like I see people because I know what it feels like to feel unseen. And so who did this for me for the first time? That is a really good question. I'm thinking about high school, I'm thinking about college, and there
Hmm.
was no one in any of those spaces who really took the time to see me. I'm thinking about my parents and my siblings, and we there was always so much chaos going around the household that they didn't really have that time or take that time to
Yeah.
really see me. I'm thinking about now my professional career. So I was in corporate for over 20 years and 10 years in technologies. Um, I had a leader at Cox Communications. His name is Scott Thomas, and this guy took the time. He would ask me questions about me. Ask me questions. His questions were more about what are my natural rewards? What are the things that naturally excite me and energize me and that sort of thing. And so he was really good at sort of digging in to understand me as a person. So he's someone I would name.
So, being in technology,
Hmm.
I got kind of a tech human question here, and it's this.
Yep.
You've seen the advancement of technology, like Moore's law is blown out of the water with AI right now.
Hmm.
AI is daily moving at a rate that's unbelievable.
Hmm.
And with what you're doing and trying to help people through loneliness and find authenticity, AI is ramming up against that. That
Yep.
human element is coming under fire, so to speak.
Yep.
So my question to you is, does AI make you nervous? And going into the future, do you think it's going to be harder to do what you're doing because we're relying so much on technologies to help us do
Yeah.
day-to-day things?
Yeah. Great question. Part of my work is is working with the human. And so the way I look at it is we are in an AI driven world, and some people will prefer to work with AI. I'm doubling down on the human connection. And so my value is in my presence. It is bringing people together. It is because when we're talking about loneliness, and for me, one of the ways to combat that is by human connection. Human connection. And so the everything I do is in service of creating belonging and creating human connection. And so, what I truly believe is that human connection will always win over AI. And yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't see that we're going to go into museums and look at AI bots that made paintings or any of those things. Even music. I mean, we're starting to see music that's coming out. I mean,
Yep.
even when I'm watching TV, I'm like, that's AI. This
Yep.
isn't real. There's
Yep.
all of those things.
Yep.
So, what is it for you every day that what is the push for you to do your work at a high level? You have people entrusted. You're changing lives.
Yep.
You have a soul that you need to nurture. What is
Yep.
that energy every day for you to do all of this at a high level?
Yeah, thank you. It comes in moments. There are these moments. Let me give you a specific moment. There was a moment. I just completed 10 calls, 10, I call them brotherhood calls. And so, as research for my book, which is titled The Loneliness of the Accomplished Black Men, I hosted 10 calls, and each call we spoke about a chapter of the book. One of the chapters was titled, I'm the Only Black Man in the Room Again. And so, in these calls, there were moments when a particular participant said, Tremaine, I look forward to these calls every single week. I have nothing like this on my calendar. This is such a gift. And so moments like that energize me. Moments like that remind me of why I do what I do. Moments like this, they give me hope and they give other people hope. And so that's what moments like that continue to fuel me, and they require my courage. They require me to go out and to create things, create experiences, and that's what it's about.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into that 18-year-old version of you, ready to go out to change the world, to
Hmm.
break out of that history of your family and be you.
Hmm.
And you come in right now at your age and you walk up and there's a film projector and you click play and a 60-second highlight reel of your life comes up on the wall. Will that young version of you believe your life turned out this way?
That is a good question. I think so. As I think about when I think about what would show up on that, what would be on that film, right? Like what would be showing? It would show me working in technologies. It would show me leading in the financial services organization. It would show me doing my work today with accomplished Black leaders. I think that 18-year-old would believe me, yes, and that would fire. That would give him fire. That would. Because I never had I never had a an example. I never had someone model that for me. So if he could see that in himself, in me, like that would have sparked a huge fire. Yeah.
So what's the highlight of that 60-second reel? What are you the happiest, the proudest of?
The proudest thing, believe it or not, the proudest thing is when I became debt free.
Yeah.
That was the moment. So I decided, well, to become debt free, first, I decided that I wanted to work in technologies. And so I learned how to become a network engineer. I would get to work 2 hours early every day and I would sit in the cafeteria and I would study. And I got an opportunity to work in technologies, and I worked two full-time jobs for 3 years to make it happen. And so that is probably one of my biggest, the accomplishments I'm most proud of.
That's huge. So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you in different capacities, but you run the show. What's
Mhm.
your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? I am a man of courage. I am a man who shows and not tell. I'll show my work. I'll show you what's possible. I'm not just going to tell you. I am a man of resiliency. I stick with it. I'm a man on purpose and on mission, and who is here to do good, however I can in the space that I'm in. I'm a man of integrity, and I really try to do what I say I'm going to do, or I try to clean it up and recommit. And so, yeah, it's a little bit about who I am.
I love it. So
Mhm.
if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history, where do you want to go? What would you love to have seen unfold?
One event in human history. I think about uh, doc, Dr. King. So in
Yeah.
1959, Dr. King gave a speech at Purdue University. He gave two talks that day, and one of them is called "The Measure of a Man," and actually it was it's crafted into a book called "The Measure of a Man." And so I would love to to hear him speak and to deliver that. That would be kind of cool. Mhm.
So, speaking of books, if anybody wants to pick up a copy of yours when it's out, if they want to hire you, they have any questions, any of the good business, where do they go? Where's the best place?
They can go to ShermainMelton.com and everything's there. Or look me up on LinkedIn, Shermain Melton.
Okay, Shermain, this has been wonderful. Great to meet you, man. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Best of luck with the book and everything else.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet.